and make we put Salone first. This message they come on from Hope for Youth Salone, Makeni chapter.
I'm forcing me country, fever like a paradise, paradise. I'm forcing me country, all man they live every day happy life. And what's it gonna make? This one I go come to reality. And when I go vote, the votes not be right, the votes not be like. I no go do the thing we go make a loss be like. I go vote, but I no go fence. I go vote, I go tell all the people them say. I go vote, but I no go fence. I go vote, but tell all the body them say. You go vote, but you no go fence. You go vote, hope for the youth we they say. You go vote, but you no go fence. You go vote.
Black Blingers music.
Vote's not your right, don't ever forget.
Me famble them on a good evening. I hope say any side usai una fen una sef na the world. I hope say una they do well. I hope say the week has been gracious to you all. I hope say if you're in New York, the smoke is not affecting you too much. If you happens to be in Canada, precisely in Quebec, Ottawa, and Montreal, that also the smoke not affect you too much. Me in Ottawa, so obviously I get to be careful with the smoke fire and everything. But I'm doing well as I am here today, hearty and healthy. So some sign are morning toner, some sign are even term, some sign are net, but wherever you join with from, I hope say you are doing well. So when I don't see the topic for today, but before I go inside the topic proper, I want to make a member, all man, make a member, we all say elections. Could you believe it? We are 14 days, 23 hours and 52 minutes into the elections. 14 days, 23 hours, 52 minutes. Believe it or not, it is coming. It is not increasing the day. The day they not they increase, the day they just they go down. And that day will come, the 24th of June, 2023, when Sierra Leone will decide, right? Sierra Leone go decide. But today we want to talk on something different. And before we talk on waiting, before I tell una waiting at the topic for today, I get two special people them with me na so today. I get two people them where I shall say most of them are very, very familiar with. I get Professor Jimmy Kanden Ayaso and Professor Awame tell Fambule Adu.
Fambule Muna all I do.
Okay. And I also get Unayon, Mr. Boy Jalo Jamboya Sef Ayaso this evening time with me. Mr. Jamboya tell Fambule Adu.
Fambule Muna all I do.
Okay, so all man don't tell family I do this evening time, and now we want to go to the topic. The topic now the history of indigenous peoples in relation to the Krio. Now, when I go talk say, Matilda, always you can come with something where we don't know who side they go, we don't know waiting. But listen, make I give you a small background. The small background we make I decide for say today make we sit down on this topic here so and make we talk about this topic here so now because in the last few years or so more and more I read this thing about Krio versus native versus Krio and more so and so when it comes to Freetown. This rhetoric of, some Creoles trying to preserve whatever they can preserve, and then, some natives saying, no, na catch, we can't catch you now, and because we can't catch you now, we can dominate with this, that, don't take all thing we and the Creoles are saying, don't take we landed and we this, that. And then the vitriol, the cost, the this, the that, it don't become too much for me. As somebody will grow up na Freetown a little bit, right? As somebody, and I don't always tell una this, as somebody wey grow up in Freetown a little bit, I not grow up in Freetown my entire life, I not even grow up in Freetown that much for make, but I know say I like Freetown. And as somebody will recognize the different parts them of where sometimes the people like in church just me ear and me aid. When they touch the front it cake like, you know, sapo, and then when they touch the back is soft. So like then I can just laugh, I smile. I'm like, you know, I don't know the different makeup them where me made up of. And waiting una know but me na the fact that say me na Krio. But waiting you no know but me na the fact that say me na Krio eku pikin we shabu mami bone. So then a small part no more I don't give una Krio eku pikin we shabu mami bone. So now that little mix alone tells you something. Now I not go to me grandpa and mix it from me mommy side. I not go to me granny and mix it from me mommy side. I not go to me papa and mix it from in papa side and in mama side. Now if I begin mix all the small blood, then who am I really? That is the question we are asking. As of right now, I identify myself as a Creole being that yes, Usaya Komo, we dey identify myself from the papa side. And because me papa na Creole, I get no choice but to say yes, me na Creole. But I also recognize the mommy we born me when I shabro mommy, right? Now, if I begin talk about that mommy day and in lineage, then people then will say, Uda really na you Matilda, make me tap and day. What can really bring about this conversation? We get a mayoral candidate. A mayoral candidate will go talk something in our mosque. We bring about a whole slew of debates. We awaken some passion in some people them, embolden some people them, and then some people then get into the defensive mode and all of that. And then this rhetoric continued. And then one day, one morning, on the 12th of May, I woke up and then what hit me was this. Mende, Mali Empire, and Timini, Futa Jallo are not indigenous to Sierra Leone. Who wrote that? It was on the professor's timeline. And then I sat. And I am looking. Now I forget about all of the history that I know about Sierra Leone, including what he just said. And I wanted to see how this debate go unfold. And may I tell you, it was very fruitful. Either they can with waiting in Sabi, either they can defute this, either they can add the on, either they put on top, either they pull come out. Oh my gosh, it was an interesting timeline. And me take that post there, I will share it on my timeline. Now, let me tell you, there were two concurrent debates going on. The one where been the gone at the professor own timeline, and the one where been the gone at me own timeline. And I sat back, I not make a single comment. Now, any of them timeline, I just listen to people. I just watch Sierra Leonean interact. Who they defend this, who they defend that, who they say this, who they did, like, it was just something to look at. We left there, and then last week, I believe we see a Creole person, or someone that identifies as from the Creole ethnicity, supporting the current mayoral candidate. In her support or condemnation or whatever, said something that obviously I may not agree with, where he say, Uno votes for Yvonne. Yes, Uno votes for Yvonne because of what she can do, because of what she can deliver, because of what she's proven she can deliver. But enough of this say, well, like waiting in say free tongue na for the Krio them. Make the Fula and the Temini or whatever other tribe she said, make them go back upline. Make them go fetch upline and upline them belong. Right there and then I said, this show can no longer wait. this thing don't they plague me too much. It don't they mourn at me, like say, don't they, it has become a conversation that we need to have, and we need to have that conversation now. Not to the small group the normal. I know say my voice carries. I know say people listen. And so my expectation today now for make we all learn. Make we all learn. Because in as much as you see me Nayaso today as Krio, you can say, yes, I come off from a descendants of free slave them. But the question where I will ask you is that, them free slave then they, who side them come out? Who side them the origin? They not just come out America no more. They were not just maroons from some other place no more where them bring come when I did them born and this and that. They were not just liberated recaptives or whatever from America, or those who fought for the British, the British loyalist black. They were not just. Because when we look, we not see any sign at the geographic scope, that the globe where they say that this party so black man been born there. The side where we know say black man been born at the continent of Africa. So before you start pointing the fingers at me or pointing the fingers at a Creole person in Sierra Leone and say, now catch we can catch you now. Now we give una place, like where a mayoral candidate they espouse right now, or they say right now. Now we give unu sidon place. I go want to make you go back in your mind, educatively, retrospectively, and think back and say, them people here where are the point to show. Now God been pull them from the sky and Ibden Kandong. You know about the history of their return, but do you know about their origins? That is the question we are asking tonight. So, I will begin with the person who asked the most thought-provoking question. Professor, I will
Yes.
say to you, who are the true indigenes of Sierra Leone, or are there indigenes of Sierra Leone?
Okay. The word indigenous itself, it kind of fraught with all kind of problems because it can lend itself to all kind of connotations. So sometimes I can prefer for use original inhabitants because
Okay.
the idea of indigeneity, some people use that for exclude Krio, Fula, and Ku. Say they all na come then come. And what we fail for realize is that most of the people na come then come. Men they come. We all know who's them men they come. And by the time women they come, full had already reached Freetown. You know why? Because they had already conquer Futa Jalo. Don't push the Timinis to sow them, toward the coast. The name Pademba Road, according to waiting I don't read. Now after Fulaman Nenema, Pademba, I may be wrong and I stand to be corrected, but the idea that some group them indigenous and others they're not indigenous, I think that's a false narrative because we country in a country of immigrants, in a country of settlers. It's a question of who that then come before who that. Even if you look at Timini, Timini then get a history of migration from Futa Jalo. Because if you look at Timini, how even the whole idea of Kanta, we then crown a Timini chief. And most of these mission are reader, me not to historian and not study ethnography. Much of it now because are curious about my country history and they do some work on ethnography. We make a begin read most of them here. But if you look at Timini, the whole idea of Kanta, the kind of spiritual retreat where then chief them for suppose for go on before they get a mesem, which is we give them that aura of mystical power. The idea of Kanta now in a kind of mythic footer, So Futa Jalon, now been place where a lot of groups them come out. Cam Salone, the Yalunka, in fact, Jalon, they name him after the Yalunka. Futa Jalon, they spell am
That's right.
Jalunka. They were the original inhabitants of that. The Fula then can later move them commodity. Now I make na Guinea, you get the Landuma, then you get the Baga there, when I like Timmy then cousin. Boy go no more but the issue than this past me because
I'm laughing.
they group them more. But the idea that some group them more indigenous than other group them is a false narrative. Because yes, Krio come, but Krio come like what, a century or two after the Mendede. And when the Mendede can't need them, it already reach here. So waiting and say then give Krio, now waiting other people then say we don't can grab before the Krio then come. It's just a question that we reach here before now, maybe 200 years before now, so we don't claim ownership. But the fact of the matter is that everybody come, with the exception of waiting most historians then conclude the Limbaden, the Shebraden. And some people don't include the Kisiden to some extent because Kisi, the language, may not know the language then, but they say Kisi and Shebra, then get some similarity. And how an inland Kisi people can be related to a Shabo coastal people, that's another issue altogether. So the idea of original inhabitants, I think, does make sense because Limbaden and Shebra, they not get any history of migration, at least no recorded history of migration into Sierra Leone, oh, no, but all the other group we come. You look at Mende, there was no such thing as a Mende identity. Now, offshoot of the Mani is them. Now, I make way people like they say, oh, we'll go Mali, we'll not see Mende. Yes, you not go see Mende in Mali because the Mali Empire was more expansive than present day Mali. Right? It became all the way to Guinea. You look at
Up to
plenty Mende
Senegal.
families. You look exactly. You look at them patrilineage there. Most of them they go back to Kankan, Nagini. A lot of Mende ruling house there. Namadinka, Marabu they we can work for their chief there. They marry them, picking them, and before you know it, they don't get line to the ruling family. So
Yeah.
the idea we maybe they try for make is that we for move away from this idea that some of we more indigenous than others, we are all descendants of immigrants and settlers. And once we
Right.
accept that, we go stop for exclude others. And I remember why they grew up in a Salone. I didn't have boss. That I was a kid. I was in boarding school. I didn't have boss. I been go holiday to me, mama and Kenema. They come back free time. Then me they check for Fulaman they way not to Salone citizen. And somebody look me no more. He said, let me come on at the boss. Me not Fulaman. I have no Fula identity,
And you're
but
not
I was
Fula.
identified as a Fula. So right there, then they exclude you because of your ethnicity. And not only, in fact, I run into one Fula partner Senegal, where so convincing me na Fula. After I don't convince and say me not to Fula, and I say, you know waiting, now one game advice I get for you. Any side you day, where Fula man get trouble, he say run with them. He say because they go mistake you. So that's some of the problem they want to encounter. Excluding others just because we don't stereotype them as the other. And what you get for realize about Fula, Madinka, and particularly two group they may be so also, to a certain extent, but particularly Fula and Madinka, these are multinational identities we
Yeah.
stretch across West Africa. So you get
As far
Fulaman,
as
whether
Cameroon.
as Sierra Leonean, as Fulaman na Guinean, as Fulaman na Liberian, they stretch all over. So they can't begin reduce citizenship to say this group not indigenous, that group they not indigenous. That's a false narrative, and that's really the point. They try for make because you see Krio and Mende identity. There are other identity there other than Limba and Shebra where they form na Salone. You go say that their identity be already formed before they reach Salone. Fula, Koranko, Yalunka, their identity then they be not formed before they reach Salone. But Mende, na Salone then form that identity there, beginning in Liberia. because they come through Liberia. Now when they reach Salone, they absorb other group them now through that process. If you read Arthur Abraham and others, and through that process, the Mende then begin form that identity they through absorption. They absorb some of the people the way they conquer. I mean, you find out local and today the language and Mende they're very, very similar. You'll get a lot of linguistic affinities, among them. But I left boy and others for talk about this. But just my preliminary point is that we're a nation of settlers and immigrants. All we people there now come, then come. With the exception of Libaden because they don't know how they come, and Shebra they don't know how they come. But all the other one there, we know how they come. So this idea as somebody who is more Sierra Leonean than other, that's a very, very bogus claim.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Professor.
Very.
I will ask the audience watching from YouTube, all with different platforms, then please share this video. This is a very educative, session that I'm having with these two people. I will bring Mr. Jamboria in. The professor followed this post. I think it was the following day. He said, if we were, I think to the line, and I'm not a quote and verbatim right now, I'm kind of paraphrasing that. If we were to talk about indigenes of Sierra Leone, then we must say the Limbas and Shabos are the indigenes of Sierra Leone. From that, pick it up, Mr. Jamboria.
Thank you very much, Professor. You don't lay the foundation. What we have in Sierra Leone is some missing links. The same concerns will make you the do the research. I have spent the last 5 years doing similar research. And I don't discover certain pattern. Rightly, as you say, there are no indigenes in Sierra Leone. We all came. But why did we come to Sierra Leone? And who were the people we met? Now we need for answer. If you take, I think you are familiar with the work of the thesis of Walter Rodney. He wrote specifically on the Upper Guinea coast. If you use that thesis and you look at the geographical and sociological similarities from Senegambia right down to Liberia, you'll be able to piece together. Matilda, I'm not hearing you.
No, I said I'll ask the technical team to actually pull up that map, the upper. Yes.
Okay. If you take from Senegambia, this map, right down to Liberia, well before the collapse of the Mali Empire, we bring the Mende, the Bambara, and the other inland people then towards the coast. Senegambia was part of Mali Empire. That was the area called Kebu. Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry, Sierra Leone, and Liberia, they had a commonality of coastal people, where they wrongly called Sapi. Who are these people? You had the Bulum, or what would they call today, Shabro. If you ask the typical Shabro man, you people them, then they tell you, say, in a Bulum, to Shabro. Shabro are the name of the leader by Shebura.
Correct.
There has been a lot of mistakes made in nomenclature and narratives when I don't lead with also this today. As you rightly say, you started this inquest to know more. For me, I had that urge since the time I was going to school. I went to the grammar school. But I be happen for the travel on holidays because my parents and me, they work now the government service. I, as a small school going, but I discover similarities in culture. porous society, then at the north, then at the south, then at the east. You get still a Gongoli, Nafale, Denton and they. But you see people talking different languages, so it sort of provokes certain things. Then, by the time I went to university, tribalism and the other things come into the matrix. I said, no, something is wrong about us. We're all similar, but something is wrong. The fault is we did not have records of who we are. But I would stand and say conveniently that we are all people of very similar DNA. Because when you look across that area where I don't tell you, from Futa Toro down to Liberia, you see the same cultures. Now the language is then different. The Baga, when they talk, now the same like Timini. Just like how the Loko, when they talk, now dialect of Mende. The Soso and the Jalonka, now the same people. Timni and Soso, now offshoots of other identities. Timni basically now a mixture of Landoma, Soso, and Baga. Now what about Rofuta in the Timni? Now the connection with the Timnis then get with the coastal Baga.
Okay.
Now the Bagas then get down Nomoli and the other thing and they. But the Baga them be spread such that they live with the Jalonka them, na Futa Jalong, which how they call Futa Jalong today. The word of course Futa is a Fulani word for a place of residence. Anywhere there are many Fulanis, it's Futa. So because of this interaction with them we don't get for long years, the people of Futa Toro wake now then come south. These were the people, the Fulanis who came south along with the Bambaras, the Sises, the Fofanas, etc. Then come with Islam. When they reach what you call Guinea Conakry today, some people not be one for join, so they move to the coast. Now then the Jalunka, Koinadugu and the Suso will get along na the northern province. But later they accepted. They accepted. And that was about the time where this thing we call slavery starts, this Atlantic slave trade. And as a matter of fact, the Atlantic slave trade itself started in Guinea-Bissau. It was started by the Portuguese who took people from mainland Guinea-Bissau to that island that is called Cape Verde. When they said they're not able to expand further, that was when they started exploring, going into the other parts of the world. Caribbean and other places came into the matrix. Later, then Sisena a profitable business because it had an economic gain for Europe. They expand on this thing. They started trading along the coast. And because Freetown is the third largest natural harbor on earth and the only natural harbor in Africa, it became a key trading port. By then, Freetown did not exist as we know it today. But there were several other identities, the Malinke Day, the Fulani Day, the Limba Day, the Kisi Day, Soso Day, Timni Day. As a matter of fact, this issue about mayor was introduced by the resettlers who came after they arranged and had land given to them from what they call government WAF today, right up to the hill na Leicester. That was the first arrangement where the Sierra Leone company been get with Banabum of Rubaga. Rubaga is a village on the Rokel River. Not too far from mile 38 area. Okay? That's the man we call it.
Udan have been them people then they. Waiting have been them your ethnicity.
Okay.
Banabom, along with the other coastal people, we are speaking mainly Timni, Suso, and Bulum. That area we yeri Kafu Bulum, na Lunge, na Bulum, them in the day. The Suso, the Bulum, and the Timni, they be don't live for hundreds of years before even the European encounter started. As a matter of fact, when the first Catholic priest, because the Catholics were the first Europeans who came to mix with the people after Pedro da Sintra and others, the first Catholic priest that came to West Africa was a Jesuit priest, Balhazar Barriera. He worked in Angola for some time, then he came to Sierra Leone. He met an organized society with a chief by Farmer. He converted by Farmer into Christianity. Then Christianity spread down the coast. Take an Usauge Freeton today. If we meet one party when a Timni tribal head, Batam, na mau be lek for it. Timni mau des your tamina mau lek for it. So he converted into Christian, he became a Catholic, and he took the name King Tom. The thing about Bademba, you are very correct, Professor. But Bademba also was living along with Madingos.
Okay.
Now from Bademba, then get the name Bademba. Up George Brook, you been get people that in Limba and Kisi they live there because people they come from inland for can sell them goods. So then ship or they pass for go India. And in the process, because then they take long for Waka, they had settlements that identified them as specific social groups. Fulatong was the warrior of the Fulani who came with their cattle. Now, my young great grandpa and them been get a place there in Papadem. The Jalo Jamborians them. Okay? Then you been get Bambaratong by Eastern Police. Now the people from Senegambia. You get different settlements in there. So when the British came and after the treaty, then decide for continue for recognize then tribal heads there. Now they will get 30 in Africa, or they say Limba tribal head, Soso tribal head. In the time say them people have been on the day. But they were in agreement that they forgive land to the Krio them. Why? Because they somehow they understood that these people brought back to us were the people taken from us and sold into slavery or their children.
Okay. So now that side there, I want to make you engam and then I go to Professor. These people brought back to us, not to forsake them a stranger. Them being taken and come off from we, then sell them. Now them picking or something then grand picking them or great grand picking them. Now we they bring come back. Not to stranger picking them with they bring come back. Now people them will belong to this land. Now we they bring come back. And here we have this thing about Creoles were given land in Sierra Leone to reside. The Creoles, as far as history can record it, they've been living in Sierra Leone at least for 231 years. At least as history could record it. Well over 231 years or at least 231 years. For people that we don't live in a place for 231 years, that is at least 2 centuries, more than 2 centuries plus. But we know the indigenes, that we know their origin. Either we are playing blind, we are playing deaf, or we refuse to acknowledge their origin and them belonging to the land. Why we they constantly say, Krio them na come then come, not to then get here soon.
Professor, I think you have the floor, sir.
Yes,
Ah,
that is
okay.
for you.
I
If
think he
if you
has a
if
lot.
you if you want, I'll come in later and assist you. But go on.
Okay, I'll say what I can about that. I think much of get for do with politics.
Yes.
How we dey exaggerate with cultural differences. And here you get for bring in the role of opportunistic politicians. So you get for ask yourself, who that the benefit? Where would they divide we self on the basis of tribe? Now the ordinary man na village the benefit, or na the politician then they use that as a tool for manipulate to people them for support them even when they know they deliver the goods. In fact, you get one political scientist na me feel, they don't die now, but he been write a very seminal article. He call am the ideology of tribalism. A name na be Achimafeji. And wetin Mafeji argue is that tribalism na a mechanism for political domination. Politicians then they use them for access political power, state office them, public resources, so then they manipulate to people them for support them on the basis of ethnicity or that narrow parochial loyalty where they owe to the group because now that group let them born, you know. But on the part of the ordinary Sierra Leonean or citizen where they subscribe to this tribal ideology, Mafeji argued that then they suffer from wetin he call false consciousness. And wetin a false consciousness? He described false consciousness as a consciousness way antagonistic to your interest. You dey act in a manner where you believe say dey in your interest, but unwittingly you dey actually act against your interest because wetin dey try for argue is that the one day wey dey go vote on the basis of tribalism, they no dey vote on the basis of their material interest. Then they vote on the
Yeah.
basis of cultural tribal consideration then. That man they na all common at the same village. Rather than whether the man a scoundrel or waiting or go do for your community, that takes a backseat. So an argument is that tribalism is a ploy where the politician and they use. And we the citizen them we gullible enough and fall for that, we suffer from false consciousness because we not the act on the basis of a material interest, we they act on the basis of consideration we not get nothing for do with bread and butter, or we picking and they go school, or we get good hospital them or good road or water or electricity and so forth. So coming back to the issue of Krio exclusion again, it's not just Krio. Like I say, Fulaman themselves don't go through that. And that is easy now, and you go argue like as you point out after 200 years you would think that some of that division they who don't begin get over am. But that has not been the case because of the role of politics. And what thing really they irk me the most is that yes, Creole then constitute less than 5% of the population, generously speaking. But we
Less
owe a
than
lot.
three, right?
Yes, you cannot begin to talk about Black global history without Creole,
No.
without Freetown,
No.
you know, without Sierra Leone. Now
No.
the pretty much the center that that's what global Black global history. You cannot even begin to talk about emancipation, you know, the end of slavery, abolition, and so forth. But waiting we don't do na Salone is that we not dey celebrate with history, not just with indigenous people or the one that we feel say them been done did it from time immemorial. I remember I attend one wedding na Maryland. Then play one limba song where the groom and bridegroom they walk a come in. The man na be limba, the woman a Krio. Me hair rise na me hate because the song so resonate with me. I don't know one limba, but the cultural resonance. I'm like, damn, I'm so proud of this song, and I don't even know a word of it. You know, but it come from a country. And they all wearing the ronco, they come in. I was like, that was just lovely. So getting back to my point, we not celebrate with culture. Look at Maroon culture. Jamaica celebrates Maroon culture. Usain Bolt is a descendant of Maroon. He
Yep.
commodity Giloni. With Giloni street, we don't get rid of a Lolonton. And you know why the Maroon they
Without
named
the
that
other name.
Giloni? They were naming their streets not after themselves, but after the one they were fought for freedom. So now that way you can get Iloni Street, all that thing, but we know they celebrate Maroon history. We know they celebrate the aspect then of we history. We in a Creole history, as if Creole not a part of we history. And Creole history is as much a part of Sierra Leone history as Mende history, as Timini history. They've all for put them at the same level. Hello, picking the learn about we country, about we history, and how we all na product of hybridization. We all na hybrid. We all can trace it. Maybe interest me people who da come out Cameroon, who da come out France, and not they even begin. It's pointless. I just consider myself a Sierra Leonean full stop. Now they are born, now they are grow up, and I'm a Sierra Leonean. Yeah, we all can be proud of our identity, but the problem is that we allow our identity for dictate with politics. And the
Right.
two for be separated. The two for be separated. So this tension between Creole and non-Creole, it only go on for a very long time. And both sides then don't contribute to that. The kind of
Yeah.
rhetoric women they come out, before. Particularly on the part of Bankole Bright, them and others, we've been very separatist. We been get this aura of superiority. We rob some countrymen in the wrong way. Some not ever overcome that yet,
Yeah.
in terms of how they relate to Creole them, feel say Creole them still feel say, they're superior. But largely it was because of their education. Because of their education, the Creole and foster people that will come up country to plenty Creole and today get up country origin. As you self rightly point out, I get plenty Creole party the way then get Shebra background. Prominent Creole family the way na born then come out. So
Yeah,
not to
because
the all
Bond was
get
a colony
Nigerian
at some
origin.
point.
Not to the all get Nigerian origin. I get one Creole party where they Belgium. I mean, if it's not a joke, a joke, where you say you get full of ancestry on the mama side, it turns out that he was right. But a Creole, you say not to Creole against a full. You know. So again, the idea is that we are also mixed up. That for begin fixate on any identity, really not make say yes, we can be proud of being fuller, proud of being Timini. But we're not going for carry them over to we politics. Because if you look at Timini identity, plenty Timini then today, then you need Timini. Most of them now of Koranko origin.
And
Some na
even
Soso
Fulani.
origin. Yeah, some Fulani then Binti. Yeah.
You have
So
a
you get
ruling house
so you
in,
don't have
in,
a
in
pure.
Yoni when a Fulani house. The Fula
Yes.
Massa
Where
house.
you see. So you don't even have a pure Timini. There's no pure Mendi. There's no pure ethnicity, no pure ethnic group. Fula don't mix, Timini don't mix, Mende don't mix, Creole don't mix. So the commonality we share is that of being Sierra Leonean. But waiting the
Exactly.
divide we seem for still be stronger than waiting the unite we, and who that they divide we now the politician them. Now the politician, because even when you look at politics, even though tribalism they divide we, when it comes to the region them, tribalism no they undermine regional solidarity, but they undermine national cohesion. Tribalism no mean say Yalunka, Koranko, Timni, Limba, and they come together for Woku. So you get ethno-regionalism today. It's not just about ethnicity anymore. It don't graduate into the region. So it's more ethno-regionalism where they cut across the group the way they na the north. Just as ethno-regionalism in the south, they bring Mende, Kisi, and Shebra then together into a kind of political alliance. So me take is that tribalism, we look at them regionally, not they stop them group here for come together politically. But when you look at them nationally, in the country as a whole, tribalism they offset national cohesion. And they work against national cohesion. So and that's one of the issues them will get for grapple with. But I know belabor the points. Now hand over to the boy.
Yeah, thank you. Tribalism, they
You
offset
see,
national
you always
cohesion.
lay the
And yeah, so tribalism indeed they offset national cohesion. Tribalism indeed, as you rightly point out, Professor, now the mechanism through which politicians them they use for divide, now the divide and conquer mechanism, separatist mechanism, and you know and what have you, you know, you talked about the importance of the Krio. Say you cannot talk about black history
Salone
or
history,
black
or even
global
Salone
history
history,
or even
even Salone
Salon
history.
history without bring the creoles there inside. Say for write a history of Sierra Leone or for write a global black history
Exactly,
without talk about the importance of the existence of the Creole ethnicity,
exactly.
you will be missing a whole chunk of history.
Yep.
Mr. Jamboy, I want to make you pick up from that point there and how we arrive at this notion that say, oh, Creole man they take from we and free tongue not to the young. The mayoral leadership not belongs to Creole alone. Yes, it belongs to all man, true. But the notion that then don't take them from we and now with them, how did we get there? In context and in light of everything
I
we're talking.
think Professor don't show we how we get there. Everything what Professor don't say now the truth about what is happening with us. But the reasons we bring we to this level, I think we know to look at them most times. They are there. You see, I don't like casting blame on the colonialists them because we don't pass 60 years before don't know we hate
Yeah.
from until now. They do good things to ourselves. But
So I think I just hold
they
you 1 second. I just dey look at the hour. Viewers, whether you're from YouTube, all the different platforms, Facebook, if you have a specific question in relation to the subject for either the professor or Mr. Jamboya, please, the phone lines are open. Please call and ask your questions because I believe, there is greatness in different ideology. There is greatness in divergence of thoughts, right? So yeah, the phone lines are open. Mr. Jamboya, carry on, sir.
okay, ma, thank you. You see, Professor, the problem we have is after the Berlin Conference, most of these Europeans who colonized Africa were not there to develop the people. They were there to take the resources to go and use. So what happened at Sierra Leone is that because now we now be the center of British influence in West Africa, the British not even care about developing Sierra Leone. They were there for the trade. They not
Mhm.
ever take part in education. I want somebody to prove me wrong. They never took part in education. They left education to the missions.
Mhm.
Okay? The Americans had come earlier with Sengbe Pierre and settled in Bonn. Then spread the influence, come to Nkolili Boyamba. Then later they spread as far as Kono. So what happened was the small colony where today now they will get Freetown and the western area, they had the chunk of western influence for close to 100 years. Imagine, they established Frobe College. The first person from the protectorate who ever entered Frobe College was Sir Milton Magai. And he entered Frobe College just 6 years before the centenary of Frobe College. How do you read that?
Mhm.
The British not been care about going up country to improve the people, because the first attempt where they make, where they call by Bureau of Cassese, talk to the other chief them, let we can upline so now go begin to pay tax, the people they resist. That resistance then form the frontier police force, when now then cause the trouble for Salone. Sierra Leone has always been a police state.
Mm-hmm.
They went to Shenge, the whole Bana Luis, they put on a sand, and began that way, then they clip you on. Put on a sand. They did it in Pujan to Momoja. Then the revolt started. That revolt for the hot tax war, where Ato Abraham referred to as the Mende War. Now I bring the palaver between the Creoles and the Mende.
Yep.
The Krio can live conveniently with the northern people. But the Mende people, they felt the Creoles were the collaborators of the British. Will lead to that Mende War. This thing had been said to certain people, but instead of them narrate them to them picking them, then they narrate the hate factor to them picking them without giving them the reason. Okay? This is the problem we have today. Number one. Number two, the fact that it take up to 1906 for make the British then go establish Koema, what we call both school today, then go willfully and say this is for sons and wards of chiefs. They created another dimension of problem. And outside that problem, they in three dimensions. You have the protectorate people, them, we're educated, we're not come up from ruling class. Where the one they way both school, they see as different class of people. The Creoles are another class of people. That tripartite problem, that sociological crack, that is what is being used in politics today to preach tribalism and regionalism. I wonder if you had read this book by this Zimbabwean fellow, Colonialism, Class Formation, and Underdevelopment in Sierra Leone. It's clearly outlined in that book. And as a matter of fact, the damage where this thing do to Sierra Leone is, the Creoles who had gone up country, they went there for two reasons: to act as interpreters. One, two, they were traders. There had been a Creole bourgeoisie that was developing, whether Mende War destroy. This was replaced by the Syrians and the Lebanese. That's the economy we have today. Foreigners own our economy. Although I would not say Lebanese are foreigners.
Boy, just one point, then you can continue. About the war and the marginalization of Creole entrepreneurs, because Freetown was a city of shopkeepers at one point.
Yes.
There were a lot of Creole entrepreneurs. The Lebanese and Indians later on kind of edged them out. But it did not just happen like that. It was because of a conscious policy by the colonial government, where they discriminate against the Creole them, because after the war, and that was the irony, they then blamed the Creole for the war. And even though Samuel Lewis and others, them don't want them say, yes, as much as we want to annex the protectorate, but then people and they not going to pay tax. And if you want for tax them, you risk an insurrection. Then say, oh, now the Creole them, not the incite.
Now them betray them. Then the Menendez bound say, now the Creole them betray them. You know the Creole
on the other hand, the insurrectionists then blame the Creole them. Then the colonial government blame the Creole. But you are right.
These are the things they don't tell our people.
You're right about the significance of that war day, because it consolidates the hatred between the Creole and the Mende. The Creole then blame the Mende them for massacre the Krio that we've been the upline. As you point out, a lot were
Yes.
traders. Some were
Yeah.
missionaries. They were with these missions. Some were working with the colonial government. So
Yeah.
the group were all together. But let's not forget the colonial government and discriminatory policy was not just
They
in the
willfully
area of
created a
business.
two-state, sir, Professor.
Even the medical
Exactly.
service, Krio then they qualify as doctor. They're not a griller, they practice per man or
No.
anything. Anyway, let me leave it at that.
I just for pick up this discussion. I hope people then they listen, and this is why sometimes I say me not depend the sensationalism show. I not depend the numbers game. I depend the education game, because to educate, to give education is the most powerful gift you can give to a human being. I hope so una dey, because some of una not ever pick any history book, anything written about Sierra Leone or whatsoever for make them linkages there. So many of these things I did not know, and I'm happy they are bringing it out. When I say I did not know before writing my thesis. But as I was writing my thesis, I had to read so many books about Sierra Leone. I had to read about so many authors, and so I was exposed to this history and know about this thing. Boku of una not be no say, or if then tell Boku people then right now say Krio people then be serious traders them inside Salone, Boku people not go believe. If they tell Boku people say see Krio people them in the trade upline like nobody's business, Boku people they not go believe. If they tell people then say Krio people were massacre, we're not okay. I say massacre, massacre upline, because again the the provincial people then believe, especially the Mendes, believe that na the Krio them push the Wetman them for can put tax na their aid. Boku people they not go believe this. These are facts. These are not made up stories. And then the Wetman themselves back turn around, blame the Krios them. So the hatred, the seed of hatred about Krio people and some of our ethnic group did like them begin just in a vacuum. There is a history to it, and sometimes the way you can see some Creole family bitter about some certain ethnic group, or they say they're not gonna mix, or if they mix they're not they mix too much, because they still remember that bitterness about how them people and them forefathers were massacred, not killed, massacre, seriously butchered by a set of people. So that history then, that history where we need for teach we picking them. Now history where we need for know and how far we've come till now. Somebody talking at the comment section said there was no Mendewo. But in light and in context of waiting, Professor just don't bring can at the table, and when myself don't highlight, Mr. Jamboria, pick them up from there and let's educate our people.
You see, if you ask me, Matilda, I think this is the right time we can take Sierra Leone forward. I know say of late not only I can talk say they blame the intellectuals, and that includes me, Professor. We have failed our country. We don't allow politicians them for misdirect the country in destiny. 60 years after independence, these facts were there, but most of us were concerned with something different. The only thing will make I begin concern myself with history. Now, after something go wrong, will affect me directly. We have to be honest with ourselves. If we look at our history, and especially if we try for find out, go into records, go into the archives, see who are the Creoles. The white people have those records. They don't begin to release them now and get them database. When we know them, then that may in fact lead us to know other things about who we are as a composite that is called Sierra Leone today. Because I'll tell you one thing again. The coastal people na Sierra Leone, not only Bolom, Soso, and Timni Bindede. You been get other people who been they camp for fish. The Fantis had come to Sierra Leone a long time ago. That area where they call York, up to Tumbo, they had been there. That society what we call na Salone Jolly, na Fanti culture.
Hmm.
Whether they
Interesting.
either fine waiting for that devil and they dance, they sing. The woman and then get their own what they can do. The Fanti culture, just like how we been grow up, we meet and get Madingo culture. The woman and they dress fine, then go dance, then say bass together. We have left all those things. I think this is the right time with this situation whole country they pa, let we come back and begin to research on those things. I had made up my mind that I'm going to continue with this research, but I will not write a book. Instead of writing a book, I'll find a way to produce documentaries. Because
Wonderful.
the target is the man out there. If you write a book, how many people they buy? Now me and you they read book. The majority not they read book. So make film let them see and make them funny. They will see but they learn the lesson. There is something rich in our culture that we have to discover. And now we left for the harass Krios. If we say we dey go now for go bring gulas in Carolinas
Mr.
for
Jamboya,
identify as we enemy, then who are they? They are Krios.
Mr. Jamboya, hold your thoughts.
Yeah?
Please hold your thoughts. I won't forget to the caller. Caller,
Okay, please do.
name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, this is Janet Matamusa. I'm calling from London.
Okay, thank you. And what's your question or comment?
Well, I wish everyone for say hello, everybody. Mr. Jello Jamboria and Professor Kande, Jimmy Kande. What I want to say, this whole conversation, it is nice that we're not hold them, and I hope say this could be one, not just one of that. It could be something one I would do from time to time, because we were born in the '60s, and obviously Mr. Jello Jamboria would laugh. But we grew up in a setting where we know the difference between whether not Krio and whether not so Krio. And that whole conversation, to me, I find it a little bit strange sometimes. We are in a country. Whatever the history was, we've not tried to heal over the years and come together and live as a people and not just have this distinction between who is Creole and the person who believes that they are Creole. And the one thing I have learned through history, we not been no Creole inside Salone before slavery. That's why when Professor Jimmy Kande say, we cannot talk about history if we not talk Salone history, if we not talk about the Creoles because of the slavery. So that is for me that makes the night for me. For sure, say you cannot overlook them. You cannot go with the idea that they are not there. But the whole problem what we get now is this distinction where some of them can want make. And we grew in it. We understand it. It is a language, it's a lifestyle. We understood it. And we still continue to understand that. But what I am saying is, as Mende person, Mende Shabro, you name it, and all of that, I am saying all this tribal thingy, tribalism itself is not a bad thing. It means that you protect or you group where you belong to, and that kind of stuff. It's when it is used in a negative sense, that is when it is wrong. You know what I'm saying? But for what I don't see on Facebook, especially this gentle situation, I have actually seen Creole people in the right stuff that Facebook say, or gentle amunku, or gentle fulfilling level, and that is the conversation that is hurting us. We all Creole, not Creole, all are native. Let's go back to it. We all are native. Mr. Jalo Jambria, you made a point, and I like that. The people were removed from the continent and taken elsewhere, and they were returned. So that itself tells you root. Whether not Salone you come out to, whether not Ghana, whether not Nigeria, Cameroon, I've read so much that I know for sure that, like Matilda, you said yourself, Creoles are not strangers. They are people who left, and were returned. And so when we come together, why is this distinction still going on? What is this supremacy? The party asked me the other day, what is the difference between supremacy and hegemony? I said supremacy is one where obviously one person be the supreme past the other. And hegemony is domination. And this is what we've had over the years. We're not going to deny this. But to move away from this is to heal and change with language. This idea of level, offend you level, or and this and that keeps you to your lane, I think is hurting. That's all I'm saying tonight. Thank you, people.
Thank you very much, Kola. And this reason make for me this conversation has to be heard. And like I say to
Yeah.
Professor, and I already say to Mr. Jamboya, we're in election season, but this won't be the last, because for me, education is a lot. Is better. It's the gift I can give to Sierra Leoneans. Yes, I can send una money. Yes, I can donate. I can do it. But this right here lives on. Long after I'm gone, people will listen to this. Long after all of us are gone, they will listen to this. They will learn something, from this. And Nadande, Naina, hope in doing some of these shows, in talking about, in taking on some of these issues. And I hope say the first, I will make Mr. Jamboya continue, but the other thing I want putting at the table is that in all of this, the caller just talked about go find your level and people finding their levels. And this is where I will call on directly on the First Lady of the Republic. Yes, I said it. Because the notion or the language of finding your levels recently came from her. It came directly from her mouth. Whether out of ignorance or out of a deliberate action. So when others run with these types of languages and then it leads to hurt, remember the antecedents of this saying and what they were meant to do. When it was said it was meant to hurt, it was meant to harm. And guess
Mm.
what? Now you
Very
have
divisive.
the trickling effect of this harm or this hurt, and others are using it to defend. Because guess what? Hurt people will hurt people. And that's what's been created. So now me want to create a space where we understand this, because a lot of people get this notion about how Krio people are obstinate, then tie their up nose, then this, then that. I'm not saying there are not some Creoles who are like that, but not all Creoles are like that. Or how Creole people learn a book no more than Sabi, they no one mix, they no one this, that. That is a lie. That
It's a
is a
lie.
lie
It's a
from
lie.
hell. It is a myth, it is a fabrication. If there is one group of people that I have come to know and that I've come to understand that is welcoming, that are they are the Creole people. They are a complex group of people and you need to understand them. But that notion, that idea that we need for broken down, we need for disintegrate them, and we need for get rid of them. Let us continue the conversation.
Okay, thank you, ma. You see, there are a lot of factors that we need to discover for make we know why we dey behave so. First of all, whether the person are Krio or Mende or Timni or Soso or Fulani or whatever, we all come up from a similarity or a commonality when are the Malinke culture. The Malinke culture get a class system where then they say me better pass you. That's where they got the word Kamarimba. Kamarimba is a Madingo word. They make as if we better pass other people. You see, it's in our DNA to be classy. But we dey misuse and abuse that. For say the Creole and the normal they make classy, I go outrightly deny that. And I go even say me countryman when I sabi book, I dey make class pass all man. Me people are they bully them, I they make chief pan them or by or mine. Yes, professor. Have you not witnessed that with our educated brothers up country?
Mm.
Yes, the Krios, I went to school with them. I was, as a matter of fact, born in Freetown. But I, like I said, lived in various parts of Sierra Leone. But basically, I spent my early stage at Songo. Songo also is a melting pot where you have Creoles, you have Locos, Madingos, Fulanis, etc. So at least at that stage, I don't begin get an idea of how different people they live. It is basic in us to have this class distinction. Then we had this colonial encounter. We can put salt on the wound. The British willfully created a two-state situation for we. We the intellectuals not fend them for address the issues there in the early 60s, 70s, and 80s. What did we do? We went our separate ways. All man they try for better himself. Now in the kick we now face so today. We can solve it, Professor. We can solve it. It's just an issue of engagement and the will to do it. If you are going to take people from Carolinas, you call them Gula, the one who been on there with you 200 years, you they persecute them, then tell me, how are you thinking? Honestly. They can't give them passport every year.
Mm-hmm.
You they welcome them. Are you looking at the socio-cultural effect or are you looking at the material effect? And the thing we sometimes get for begin look at, some of these guys coming, they may be more gangsters than the one that they would do. If you can't hold up him money, go duty where you don't expect. You know, we can forget a foundation. We can sit quietly. Prof, if you ask me, you remember a few years back, I used to say it is better for us to have a cultural commission than an anti-corruption commission. If you could remember, I was saying that on social media. It's out of the realization that our problem is not more of a political problem, but a sociological disconnect. We get a culture that is similar with everything, but mistrust been done coincide at different points, starting with the slave trade. Then came colonialism. Then this hot tax war. All them factors that don't build mistrust in we. Rather than we sit down quietly and talk to ourselves, we always talk at ourselves. And that's the problem we have, Professor. But we can solve it if we are ready. We can solve it. There is always a solution. We only need to look for it. And I believe, say, then crisis here they lead we to that gradually. Because of this crisis, even Akisha don't do DNA test, she has discovered she had Futatoro DNA. Me and a cousin, me say get Futatoro DNA. So fumble. Professor Jimmy Kande, I am sure he has been told he looks like a Fulani. If he goes and find out, he will discover he has Fulani connection. So me in a fumble. Rather than with a take rent here for create animosity, let we find out where we are different, why we are different, and use that difference for come together. No way that I stay where I have lived. This December will make me 20 years in this place. If I tell people that this country has two different parliaments, they will not believe it. Then get one for the Norwegian and one for a minority in Norway. But when a majority group in the region, like who get the kisses them, okay, the Samics, then get their own parliament like the North. Why? Because then they allow diversity in unity.
Una get laps then.
Yes.
Boy, una get laps. Lapish
yes,
people,
then they,
right?
then they all know the Arctic region.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You see, also how they fail is that we have not looked our diversity as points
Yeah.
of unity. We look at with diversity as points of differences. Even minus the class issue. Look at the way people and they treat school. That man go both school, that man go grammar school, that man go Edward all man they argue me school better pass your own school. But now the same teacher then they teach now the different schools. All the teachers in Sierra Leone are produced by the same institutions. So tell me, where is this difference? Is it in the name? Is there a culture in these schools that are different from the other schools? If we put down this thing about class, now look at what is similar between us, then maybe we can build a new class system. But if we continue with that colonial class system where we don't divide, we are running into trouble. I go stop there first, Matilda.
Yeah, Professor, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I think the point boy they try for make about identifying areas them who can come together and build upon the area that they I think very important because in any country you go find area them where people then now they get one word. You can't meet, they can't,
Hmm?
come together at all. So not to the area then they try for highlights as much. You they try for highlight the area them who can come together and build up on that. And one of the things they will get going for we, where we underappreciate is the fact that we get a lingua franca, right?
Yeah,
And that lingua franca is Krio. We
yeah,
can't deny that. That's part of
yeah,
our history. That's part of
yeah,
who we are. I learned
yeah.
for talk Creole before I learned for talk any other language. So yeah, I'm not a Creole, but that's the first language I learned. You know, and most Sierra Leonean they can communicate in Creole.
Exactly.
We can build up on that. Some of the best play that we are ever watching a British Council. They were plays in Creole, Tabule Theatre. You get Colossal John Kagbo waiting at beyond self in the name of with Bakanda, you can get all the theater
Wakanda.
group in there. Yeah. Some of
Yes.
the best but I mean when you look at the Creole language itself, Salone get the most unique Creole.
It's a
You
mixture
look
of
at
all
Creole
the
than any
local
other side. If
languages.
you go Nigeria, when I communicate with my Nigerian colleague, I dey follow am in pidgin word for word, but once I begin get into me Creole, I dey lost am
Hmm.
because pidgin
Yes,
is not Creole. It's different. Salon Creole
it's different.
unique. E
Yeah,
distinct. Look them bodos they always don't begin disappear na Freetown. Salone, Freetown and Bont Island na the only place standing in West Africa we been getting kind bodos then they with dormer windows and everything.
yeah,
Now
yeah,
all our concretes now they broke them make them now then thing and they will make Freetown unique. Stand out
yeah,
from other West African cities. They were not getting kind colonial architecture and they, building the way still get some personality. I mean, host them now and the way they enter, the ground, they shine you, they see you reflection. So there are certain things that we can build on, but therefore appreciate what we get. The
exactly.
language is a unifying force. Creole can bring we together but some man dey use am for divide we. I don lis ten one time to somebody on radio wey na be minister. E dey talk in Creole. Now I dey ask somebody, I say, but how dis minister dey talk Creole like foreign language? Now I say, hey, na problem dat dey. E say e better sef. E say the man no to Creole. I say, but minister no to Creole, but Creole na lingua franca. How you go talk Creole like foreign language? You know dat man name na Mende dey talk. I say, so if you not talk Mende pass you talk English, you not go talk Creole? I say, but that's our lingua franca. Not all man go talk English, and not all man go talk Mende. So we cannot deny our history. We
Yeah,
cannot deny the facts of we existence. Waiting they bring we together. And when you get a unifying language, that can help. We don't need a unifying religion. Tell God thank you, religion not to big, fault line our country like some other country there. So we not get for worry about religion. We to get for worry most about again. Now we political class. Now then they divide we the most. We people can get along. Yes, then and must you look plenty men demand now na Krio man and they married. You get plenty Timni man and a Mende woman and they're married. I don't
Exactly.
understand what's the dynamic behind that, but that's what I'm seeing. So you get so much intermarry, like I get a professor, a former professor, when late daddy na been Timni, when late mama na been Mende. Where can everybody APC say those Timni and Mende boys are fighting each other as if he not even belong to any of you know because he not looking just as pigeonholing any of them because he come from both sides and celebrate both sides. He not force person for choose one or the other. Now make I say waiting we get for promote now this idea that being a Sierra Leonean for override any other one identity politically. Culturally, yes, we can retain with fuller identity, with core identity. There are aspects to that identity that are peculiar to the people, who share that identity. But when it comes
Yeah,
to the politics, because the thing that tribalism they do, we really they set we country bien, they fragment any resistance who can come up with to bad governance. You can get away with bad governance because of tribalism. We cannot come together. They divide we, they fragment that resistance. Now make man and they do all kinds of things that feel say they can get away with that. Once they get
exactly.
the support. And some man they, if not to tribalism, wallahi, they ever be president. It's that simple.
Exactly.
It's that simple. I
Exactly.
don't go call name or anything, but if not
Nah,
to
nah,
tribalism, they not go be president.
nah, nah,
And
nah.
that is bad. Just because somebody na me brother, they run for office, I know say he unfit. Now me first they go out for talk against them. But this we continue now today. Once now you person, now you village, you come on, now you ethnic group, it no matter. Who that them put up. So again, the thing is now follow identify, waiting they bring we together and work on that and build on that. Over time, that one they go, overcome some of the, factors the way they divide with. But it takes time and waiting most important now how the government they perform. Because how the government they perform, they impact how people they relate to each other and how then they relate to the government. The disconnect between the government, the state, and the people, and the political class and the people, they
It's
work
too much.
well for
Too
promote
much in
national
Sierra.
cohesion. That disconnect the day is very deep. It
It's
only
too
from the
much,
colonial
Professor. It's
era,
too
but
much. It's getting deeper
it's
every
getting
day.
deeper.
It started with the
Yes,
APC regime under Shaka
yes,
Stevens. Now
it
it's
just get
getting
deeper.
deeper
Yeah.
and it go to a
So that's part of the
catastrophic
problem.
stage.
Yes, because if we
Yeah,
dey
so
get some social cohesion, if we dey get some social cohesion, you dey improve the conditions under which people dey live.
Yeah.
You dey generate more loyalty, for the state because the state dey make a difference in people their life. People then go begin come together. But when the government dey perform in a manner wey the people the minimal expectations them dey meet at all, that will lead to the kind of frustration, the kind of alienation, we can erupt in violence and brother begin fed brother because now the crumbs we they fed over. Because
Yeah.
now the crumbs they left for we. And
Yeah.
that's what we fight over at election time. Now election they cancel. Now crumbs then they can't fed over. So they like the two Agbagba party then they feed off each other. Because they don't say this, you do Teda and then your chance to kind say go do so because then get that ethno-regional support base. And that one day the whole we country behind. We know they go before that kind way. We need alliances where they cut across region and tribe. Now that only way they we can develop.
indeed.
I
Thank you very
We
much,
the
Professor.
intellectuals for
The,
coming, Professor.
the,
For
thank you very
coming.
much, Professor. Yeah, thank you very much, Professor. So basically, I just dey look at the comment. One of the viewers they write say, diversity should be celebrated. Absolutely, diversity should be celebrated. Diversity ought to be celebrated. However, waiting we get na Salone right now, people are using diversity as a tool to
Mm-hmm.
create division. People are using diversity as a tool to create division. So in current Sierra Leone, in as much as in general, yes, we encourage, the celebration of diversity. What we have right now, diversity is being used as a political tool to create division within Sierra Leone. And I like the other comment where somebody writes, where say we should all accept one another to build a better city and country. Um, in a true diverse nation, where everybody really should accept one another to build a better country, and the diversity of one or a diversity of a group should not be used to pin one set of people against each other. As we close, I want Professor and Mr. Jamboya, I want on a final comment on this. The mayoral candidate, the mayor, the seat for the mayor of Freetown. Right now, it has boiled down to two things. It don't boil down to tribe, and it don't boil down to basically identification of oneself. How it boiled down to tribe? It boiled down to tribe because you get one of the most, I for say, forerunning candidates, winner a Krio. And then we get another candidate where they self-identify themselves as a Timini. And we don't bring the mayoral ship or the rest of the mayoral ship, it don't zero into one thing, which is tribe. Me na Temini, you na Krio. It is the Krio that don't rule for too long. Now na Tem for make we the Teminis them take over.
Mhm.
And then from that, it move on to something that is also non-relevant. It say in opponent na shwen, but in the era of Freetown TT collection or connection, that is the dispensation he wants to bring. What we want to see and what I would hope Sierra Leonean want to see is what these two people can bring to the table. What would be their contribution towards the development and advancement of Freetown and Freetonians? Now, in una own word, in light of all waiting we don't talk, I go want for no una final thoughts and closing remarks about the mayoralship of Freetown and what the focus should be rather than what the current rhetoric is.
Prof, you go first or should I go first?
Mr.
It doesn't matter.
Jamboya, you can go first. You can take it.
Okay.
Mr. Jamboya, and with you.
Historically, I don't see any reason why we for reach this level except what you don't say that the politicians then they divide we. Because historically, and I said it at some point, that because several social groups them in the cohabit that area what they call Freetown today, you been get Fulani, Madingo, Soso, etc. The institution of tribal heads be done they exist for each of them groups here. And we still have it in Freetown. You get Fula tribal head, Soso tribal head, Timni tribal head, etc. My great-grandfather became the third tribal head for the Fulanis. Okay? So not to we begin just now. But the mayorship established by the British was an institution to be administered by people with the capacity to administer. And at one point in time, because the Creoles and the get the intellectual and other capacity, they dominated. But you had other people like Akus, etc., coming in to serve. And as a matter of fact, at some point in time, Shaka Stevens
Mayor.
was mayor of Freetown.
Mm-hmm.
So the
And
issue
in
of tribe does not come in. It's an issue of efficiency. Whoever is efficient will be elected. Well, now the new structure where they don't create, where they get ward representation, all are part of wanting to decentralize efficiency, which is good. So I don't see no moral or ethical reason for make we come to this level where they go so. And as far as the conversation don't go, both sides are wrong. But that does not include Yvonne Akisoya. Yvonne Akisoya, call her whatever name, I think she has always been a balanced, rational person. And I see her as somebody who will be ready to accept when she is wrong. Yes, na Shwen, because of the way we grew up. Give her that. Me some people they look me as Shwen. I don't know. You understand? Shwen and other thing now the matter of how you grow up. Some of who be they grow up, they be they restrict to that they mix with. Okay? That does not make me look down on people. Our parents wanted to protect us against certain habits at certain stage. Okay? And going to the very name Morgan, very few people know that the Morgans are not wholly Creole people. You have Morgans in Bombali. You have Morgans in Bo. You have Morgans in Bond.
Bond, yeah.
You see, there are times before, if you want to be a public servant, do your research. That's an advice I'm giving to all our politicians. Because a lot of things then the way they don't talk of late Professor Akin Krings on Saiwasi. I say, Ibo, how do I reach this level? It's dangerous. Some of them talking. I don't know side people that they go pull there. Then the other side will get for look is maybe that person where they go offense until a blood relative. Look at Sierra Leone. You have similar surnames across the country. Kamara, Koroma, Sise, Jure, Tarawali, Fofana, all across the country, in every of these linguistic groups. I'm specifically using the word linguistic groups when I refer to the ethnic groups. Okay? What is different between that Kamara in Pujao and the Kamara in Kambia and Bombali? What is different between the soiree in Pujao and the soiree in Moyamba, the soiree at Magazine Court and the soiree in Kambia? What is different between the Tarawali in Kambia, the Tarawali in Tonkolili, the Tarawali in Moyamba, and the Tarawali in Kenema? They are the same people. It's the ability to talk a language. Is what makes us different? No. Now look beyond that. Look at with food culture. Look at with dress culture. Look at with dance culture. Look at even with secret societies them. You see a lot of similarities. Why are we allowing people for the sake of access to power for divide we? The Sierra Leonean people get for begin think above and beyond some of them things here. There is a connecting link we need to find out. Some of us are taking our time to, but you have to come along with us. So we can all find it out. Then we begin for live outside this divide mentality where we don't build as a kind of culture. Because it's a culture now in our country. There's nothing different amongst us except for what we say and say them badly to hurt each other. It's better at times to keep quiet. If I was the owner of social media, I go ban Sierra Leoneans then they. With the abuse and professor. We got to try. There is a lot similar with us. You see, and again, now they look at you that they will give certain responsibilities. Age may not be a factor, but the exposure of the person is a very important factor. Not go take somebody because you see they drive Lamborghini, you feel say you get experience. No. Wealth is not determined by your experience or your education. It's determined by your connection, your network, and your ability to mix with certain group and build trust with them. Even if it's a criminal group, if they trust you, you become wealthy. Okay? But running a society, running human beings, with me having been a teacher for some time in my life, with you, Professor, you know the complexities of dealing with human beings. It goes beyond your appearance. Your demeanor, your temperament, and all other things, they count. There are times they may even misjudge you. But if you are good at your job, you go back to the people and say, oh, that was not what I meant. This is what I meant. I'm sorry if I meant this. I do it all the time. I do it all the time, and it does not make me a smaller person. Now, this will no one do, because we get that Malinke Kamarimba attitude. You know that, not me? Who are you? You are just like me, made up of water, cells, and meat. I don't care what you get. We get for water down this thing. We get for tamper and down. We get for put to vexations aside and let we go over them things here. We all suffered it. I suffered it. But I never held it against anybody. I looked at the culture. I said, oh, this is what it is. How do we deal with it? But if we say they make vexation, we're not going to ever get there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jamboya. Now I will go to Professor.
Okay, I think he said two issues. One, the Shuen Shuen issue, the other one about ethnicity and the mayor of the municipality of Freetown. I know they follow Gento so much because after the first term why waiting to say, it threw me off so terribly that I find I'm insufferable. You know, that puts on that waiting. Right. It's not that I'm so thrilled by Yvonne because I think Yvonne leave a lot out there that could have been done because I think she's beholden to the party hierarchy and also the incumbent government, they frustrate them in waiting they try for do. But I'll take her any day. May not be blunt APC or SLPP, but I'll take her any day over Gentle just based on the kind of divisive politics way Gentle. Some SLPP man they say, well, Yvonne Self been say something about Bua BC, but I think she said that in a kind of joking way, you know. The guy go meet Kana Sonsai, say, hey, na so Oman den denial. Na so Olangba den denial. Na so Dake den denial. Or whatever it is. You can say that in a joking way, but I think people take them out of context, blow them out of, you know, and the very one the way they do that, where they accuse them of being, you know, ethnically insensitive, are some of the most tribalistic politicians in the country. You know, where they try to turn around for accuse them of waiting them guilty of, many times over. So I don't even go there with that. But when I hear waiting gentle get for talk, but how na Muslim term, na countryman term, I'm like, this guy really lacks exposure. He's unlettered. I mean, you know, get for land book much for, hold some position then, but at least you get for be able to articulate your ideas in a way, whether not Creole or English or whatever, in a way people then can understand. But the thing that threw me off him most, not being the divisiveness. Where you want to be mayor of Freetown, they can be mayor for Countryman, they can be
No.
mayor for Creole, they can be mayor for everybody in Freetown. So from the get-go, we begin talk about Countryman and Muslim and all that, it just tell me right away, say this is a very, very intolerant person. And you get an then kind position and they rather than help, like what they talk today, how we go bring ourselves together. That kind of rhetoric then I will not need. That kind of
Yeah.
rhetoric then they divide we. That's the poison, that's the cancer in the body polity we will need for exercise, because now then kind talk then they really set with Ben. Now then kind talk then they get people then for go commit all kind atrocities because they believe say, okay, now must look wake Pakaba have been president. Pakaba was a Muslim, but in West not been Christian. Atisha Kaba no ever
Yeah.
changing religion. She
Yeah.
remain a
She is a
Catholic.
talker. She is a talker
Yes.
from Bond, and they
I
are
mean,
Catholics.
so you can tell, say he was a very tolerant man. And then
Yeah.
kind tolerance, then they know plenty man, then the way he married you might get for convert to his faith and what. No. The level of tolerance with that party show now be an example for others then for emulate. But now you get this guy we coming. Sheki, as you point out, Shaka Stephen was mayor of Freetown. Shaka Stephen was not Creole.
Yeah.
Fataraman, they all have been chairman of whatever, and na Freetown. Fataraman, not to Aku,
Aku.
what you go say na Aku Krio or whatever. But the fact of the matter is that I not be ever feel say there's a litmus test, an ethnic litmus test for somebody for be mayor. Yeah, if you be
Right.
Creole, fine. If you're non-Creole who can get the votes, okay. But now how
Yeah.
the Victor Mayor thing don't turn out now, Seth, is that it is more political. It is more political. Even owes a position to the APC. There's no question about that. Without the APC, Yvonne not be mayor.
Yeah.
And APC then control the majority na Freetown. They have the majority in Freetown, largely because of the proximity of the north to the western area. And if you
Yeah.
look at the Timneys, a lot of them are traders. You have large settlements of Timneys in Bo, in Kenema, and obviously in Freetown. The Timney then they travel the kind way Southerners they know they travel.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of Southerners spread out in the north as how Timneys are spread out in the south. So the concentration of Northerners in the western area give APC a slight advantage over SLPP. And that you get for realized. So it's not about ethnicity. It's
Yeah.
about political affiliation. And most important now, for Lay Winda Mayor Will Stanley Johnson became mayor of Freetown. Nobody know Will Stanley. And e no even last na the mayor today because in copy APC dem push am comot because na strict man, he been dey try for do what is right and dem no be like am for that. But he got there because of his APC, membership. So this idea say Gentle, and Gentle was APC. Gentle na Anes make Gentle. Nobody knew about him before. Na Anes been dey get am contract them for the make road. That's how he made his money. And now he's made his money, he think he can speak, and he cannot. He thinks now he wants power. And then they push him for contest the mayoralty, and he really doesn't have a chance because given the demographic and the voting patterns in the western area, he doesn't have a chance unless they rig the election. But I don't think he has a chance in that instance. About the Shwen business, well, as you say, that's about class. You know, That just tells you that this guy, no matter how much money he don't make, he get a chip on his shoulder, and you can make all the money in the world, but that does not make you exposed. In fact, the
No.
more money you make when you're that dim-witted, the more you're going to be exposed as somebody who's pretty much vacant. And that's what happened to him. What happened to him? I said the man vacant. And another one a vacant by as a mayor, intellectually vacant. You don't expect them to be intellectual, but at least stay able only own and express himself. And that he cannot do. So he go accuse other people that will go school, wey sabi talk pass am, as being shwen. And coming back to Yvonne, Yvonne's dad was a professor at the university when I was a student,
Yeah.
Hector Morgan.
Yeah.
Hector
Yeah.
get very strong bond connection. Can
Oh
even
well.
say a few words in Mende. So the
Okay.
idea that Yvonne, with that kind of a background is kind of, being ethnically insensitive. Maybe Paddy can make, how they call the all bad and deny. It's a kind of joking way. And that was taken, pretty much, and they ran away with it. But the Shuen thing, like I said, is just a question of class.
Yeah.
You feel belong in a particular class, but that's your problem. It's not the problem of the person they call Shuen. But as far as they're concerned, they're not to Shuen. But if you feel say they're not Shuen, that says more about you than about the person you call in Shuen. That's all I really have to say. But that should have nothing to do with the election at all. I think the election for mayor is gonna be based on numbers.
Yeah.
And APC getting number now the western area past SLPP, that's just a fact. The last SLPP for win the western area, even though not to the mayor, now the national election was Kaba. And that was a different election. That was a diff since then, they don't win the western area. They've lost the western area now in three, successive elections. And that include the mayor as well. So how gentle all of a sudden they can win, even the Hillcourt Road way make. They don't lock that place still now because now very sure the work we do there. Very sure the work we do there. Wey they not be forget that contract they say. Now make it they make big because na next build them up. But just say it tells you a lot about the man. Me not care for them politician oh. But the man will build you up, now you can turn against now. But they say been there with bury ourselves before. He can to Ernest. Then from Ernest now, he don't come to Pauper. So if Pauper not there, they go back. If Pauper not
Maybe.
winning, they go back to Ernest. So you begin to wonder the
Maybe
kind
we
of person.
have a lot of pendulum politicians.
I would rather you just stick one side. That's where you are. Then rather you all over the place. So, but anyway, it's been a good engagement this evening, and thanks for having me. It was good seeing you again, boy. It's been a long
Yes,
time.
sir. And
Yeah,
let us please reestablish, because there are certain things I would want us to collaborate on.
no problem. No
One of
problem.
which I already told you, I'm not going to write a book. Let's find a way to
The
make films.
documentary. Yeah,
Okay.
we can talk
Okay.
about
So
that. Don't
on that,
worry.
Okay.
Plenty of time.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
On that note, I want to say boku, plenty thank you to me two panelists them. I want to say boku thank you to Professor Jimmy Kande. I want to say also boku thank you to Mr. Boy Jalo Jamboria. And I want for me una no say not to the last time this I go call on una, I will continue for call on una because we get boku for say like Mr. Jamboria said there is a lot of history that we have to leave for our kids, our generation. This generation right now, not to the type generation where they sit down old book and read 200, 300 page, 500 page. You get for cut and short for them. This is how they are. So maybe to oral history through oral documentation, we can leave something that they can listen to and and learn some things or two. The I got few things that we I want address based on the viewers then comments them. The first one when a Krio person tell from the comment from a viewer they say but a Krio person say something but the country people them and make them go up line if the viewer been there now the show right at the opening if for notice say that then as something way I don't address I address that right at my opening statement and as a matter of fact where I been they set me opening all that they been kind sign me opening the other thing way another viewer say way I want for just give me a second. When I want for address is that when professors say, he strongly believe that Yvonne meant that as a joke. She didn't mean the Boabise language as how you call them for being malicious or whatever, but it was taken out of context. The caller, the viewer also challenged that and say no, and go down the line of even in current running mate na Krio. This is the conversation we are having right now. And for me, I think say it will be a disservice that we come right up until this point and then a viewer make that comment there, unless the viewer just they come in right now. But if you be not sit down with we right at the top of the beginning of the show and right side we don't begin, for make you make such comment, I think say it means say me go strongly encourage you for go back and listen to this entire show and really, really open your ears and your heart to listen. Open your ears and your heart to listen because the discussion where we don't get Naya so really need for make say the Bua Bise comment like professor say like Yvonne said it, she said it at a meeting, she said it amongst colleagues and say all time Bua Bise, when would we speak English or when would we speak a language that everyone would understand? That was taken out of context and I've said it before. And when I see me video where I be make at the time in defense of Yvonne and in defense of what Yvonne say. And when I ran down the list of people who held positions at the time, in the MDAs, una see what we come up with. Una see the list. So let us not excuse certain behaviors or certain things out of sentiment. And for address this issue, so we are talking about competence. Nowhere in the laws of Sierra Leone is it written that you running mate for be for a particular tribe or for be from, if you are from a particular tribe, the running mate for be from another tribe. What you want are competent leaders. What you want is someone you can work with. What you want is someone that shares the same vision and passion as you. You see, we there in the space where we there so right now because of that single idea that I should please the narrative of others. I should seek to please. Even when we know it hurts us, we go down the lane of pleasing. Yvonne choose a running mate based on whom she believe can deliver with her, who she believe has the most competent to deliver with her. I don't think when she was choosing her running mate, she was going down the line of waiting at your ethnicity. I think she was going down the line of who can I trust, who can I work with, who can I deliver, who can help me deliver to Fritonians to the best of our abilities. So if we not understand anything from this conversation we don't do today, please to that viewer, I go strongly encourage you for go back and listen to every single thing where we don't talk now. So today, these conversations continue. There are important conversations then for have. And yes, in the area of governance, what should governance look like? Do we even have a governance structure in Sierra Leone? Should there be a reformation of our governance structure in Sierra Leone? That is the area of Professor. And definitely, I will get Professor for come back Naya for solely focus on that single subject. What is governance? What should it look like?
I go bring Mima. Now I can share the Scandinavian experience. And I think there is a lot of things we can take from that.
Yeah.
We wrongly don't begin them with this PR system. We
I
wrongly
agree.
don't begin them.
I agree.
The
PR is a bad
emphasis should have been on decentralization. We will talk about that when the time comes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And again, let
Thank you.
peace, unity, and freedom reign.
Thank
Peace,
you.
unity, freedom. That's what we pray for. That's what we hope for. Yes, there is beauty in divergence. Yes, there is beauty in differences. Yes, there is beauty in celebrating our differences. But one thing we should not allow, and that we have allowed within the spaces of Sierra Leone, is that those differences people have used to divide us. Una thank you. May God bless you all. And any sayosa una fen una sef na the world. May God continue for bless una and we all, and may God bless Mama Salone.
All right. Tata.
Never forget to.
Because Mama Salone, you know, now you hungry we get.
Now you hungry we get.
The goats na me right, the goats na me life. I no go do the thing we go make a loss me life. The goats na you right, the goats na you like. No go do the thing we dey make you lost your life.
Election time, they come now for left, ala. Election time, they come now for left, cos. And now the time where you for see the ending. Who that for votes? Where you dey go, me brother and sister? Make una no fets.
I go vote, but I don't go fence. I go vote, I go tell all me people them say. I go vote, but I don't go fence. I go vote, I go tell all the body them say. We go vote, but you don't go fence. We go vote, hope for the youth we they say. We go vote, but you don't go fence. We go vote.
I want make we know say Salone now we home, and there is no place like home. We fall over to the bone, we for respect am more. Now we motherland, we for respect am more.
Yeah, the mic is on.
Salone now we home.
Straight to the point, this a message to the nation. And please beg you now, but give me attention. It's all about election. This time around, you got to be conscious. The vote now your weapon. Not to for say pass it should gone. Yeah, not to for say pass it should gone. Election they come and go, but we still get one day. I was alone. Yeah, the mic is on. You got that you right. Not all the things, man, we go make it lost in life. Think about you beginning and your wife. Salone now we country and now we pride.
And when I go vote, the votes na me right, the votes na me life. I no go do the thing we go make a loss me